Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about my vegan story to hopefully give you some insight as to why I chose this way of life and hopefully inspire you to go vegan or at least eat a plant-based diet. So I remember when I first learned about this vegan vegetarian style of living, it was back in high school. I had a friend named Blake and he was a vegetarian, and I just found it so bizarre that some people could give up meat, dairy, eggs, fish, honey. Such a foreign concept to me, and I remember just giving him a hard time for wanting to give up animal products. So both my parents are originally from Greece, and eventually they migrated here to the States. And growing up, I not only got to eat the modern Greek diet, which has lots of meat and dairy, but also the American diet, which has a lot of animal products as well as processed foods. So definitely didn't grow up on a health conscious diet. However, as I got older, I learned a little bit more about nutrition, and I was told that if I wanted big muscles, I would eat a lot of meat. If I wanted strong bones, I would eat a lot of dairy, and if I wanted healthy eyes, I would eat a lot of fish. I also knew that if I wanted to be at a healthy weight, I should watch the amount of food that I eat, but that's about it. That's all I really knew about nutrition, and even that didn't stop me from eating Five Guys every day for a whole week back in high school. I was literally obsessed with that restaurant. I even had a Five Guys shirt back in the day that I would wear all the time. It wasn't until late high school where I started to try eating more vegetables besides just green beans and cooked tomatoes. My vegetable intake was pretty pathetic up until that point, and what I noticed as I started to eat more vegetables was my palate started to change and vegetables started to become more tolerable. In college, I moved into this tiny little basement of an apartment and started to buy my own food, started to become more conscious of the food that I was eating, and started to experiment with all sorts of diets. I tried keto, I tried a high protein diet, you name it, anything that could get me to become more lean. I definitely started taking interest in nutrition for personal reasons. Now fast forward to 2012, I decided I was going to fast 40 days for Lent because as a Greek Orthodox, it is strictly prohibited to eat any animal products 40 days before Easter, even olive oil and wine in some cases. And I had never done the full 40 days. I had fasted for Holy Week, which is the week before Greek Easter, but I was like, why haven't I ever done this? Why do I not have the discipline to do it? So I decided to do it. I had watched a documentary called Forks Over Knives just before then, which talks about the benefits of a plant-based diet. So it all made sense. It was perfect timing, and I decided to give it a try. Now, to be fair, I did have some slip-ups during the 40 days of Lent, but mostly it was because I wasn't aware of how many foods had ingredients that were derived from animals. But pretty much stuck with it for the most part, and Easter came around. All of my family and friends had lamb, and I just stuck on my Lent diet. I didn't have any, I just ate the plant-based foods and decided to stick with it. That film I talked about, Forks Over Knives, had such a huge impact on me. All the science that I learned about preventing and reversing chronic diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, certain forms of cancer through a whole food plant-based diet. It's just, I had to stick with it because at that time too, I was losing many family members to those diseases, and I knew that if I didn't do something about it, I could easily be following in their footsteps. And I started to feel really good too. I started to be full of more energy. I lost a little bit of weight at that time. Everything just made sense. And not only did I decide to change my diet, but later that year, I changed my major from astronomy to dietetics because I wanted to share this knowledge with other people to hopefully inspire them to make healthier habits in their life. I started to watch every documentary, every YouTube video regarding a plant-based diet. I was obsessed. It was nuts. These were the most life-changing years of my life. I even stopped drinking and partying, which, by the way, I don't want to condemn, if that's the life that you want to live, there's nothing wrong with that. But I quickly learned that that was not for me. And a little further down my journey, I learned about the impact that my diet has on animals, farm animals. And I watched a documentary called Earthlings. I learned about the importance of why you should adopt pets and not shop for them in pet stores. I learned about the egg and dairy industry and how it's not considered to be ethical, even if it can be harvested without killing an animal. But let me tell you, many of these animals at the end are still sent to slaughter. And even if they weren't, even let's say they weren't hurt in the process, just the mere fact of taking a baby cow's milk away just for my consumption, just for my breakfast cereal, kills me. I just couldn't do it. And watching Earthlings was one of the most horrifying and painful experiences that I've ever had to sit through. I even took this photo right after watching the film, just as proof, as a reflection of how I felt in that moment, and a reminder for my future self that I have these feelings inside me. I can't fight them. You know, I have sympathy for these animals. It's who I am, and it is the reason why I went vegan. It changed everything. Earthlings is definitely a powerful documentary, and if you can sit through it, man, power to you. But what really got me the most in that moment was when I started to bawl my eyes. My dog Simba came running over, and he had this look on his face, this look of sympathy for me. And I thought to myself in that moment, looking at my dog, that's the way I should be looking at these animals. I think we all should be showing this sympathy to these animals, because that dog, my dog, is no different than that cow, that pig, that sheep, that chicken in that farm that's being raised for meat, dairy, or eggs. We should show sympathy for all the animals in the circle of life, because they all have the same desire to love and to live. I remember as a kid, when we would visit Greece and we would go and stay in the village for vacation, our next door neighbor, they would raise lamb for meat. And I got a chance as a little kid to witness them slaughtering lambs, and I got to listen to their voices. They sound like little kids, and I remember just being in such a shock at that point. And of course, it was suppressed later on, just because dinner time came around. And I remember back in 2014, I got to visit a farm sanctuary and just petting these animals, being in their existence. There's no way that you could hurt them. You have that desire in you, or at least I did, to show love for them, to show appreciation for them, not to hurt them. And I think the biggest thing that made me go vegan is tapping into those emotions, being more conscious of them, and understanding that this is who I am. My personal philosophy is, if I can't do the hunting, I should not be doing the eating. That's just my personal philosophy. But as you may or may not know, animal products are in everything. It is so frustrating, or at least it was back then, learning about all the things that animal products are involved in, like clothing and furniture. They're in as leather, wool, silk, fur, down. But fortunately, even top-selling brands are starting to move away from these cruel practices and are starting to offer vegan alternatives that look just like the animal-derived version. In addition, many of the cosmetics that we use either contain animal products or are tested on animals, and for that reason, I'm out. A little Shark Tank reference for you there. But yeah, that is the reason why I choose to buy cosmetics and other products that contain no animal ingredients and are not tested on animals. That's something that I definitely started to become aware of a little bit later, but definitely is important as well. Lastly, I want to say a word about how our dietary choices can impact the environment, and in particularly how raising animals for meat and their byproducts can be devastating for our planet. I mean, you look at the amount of deforestation that is required to raise animals, and particularly cattle. Very huge animals require lots of calories, and the pollution and runoff of waste that flows into our rivers, that all does not sit too well with me. And I know the topic of global warming can be very politicized these days, and I'm not a climatologist, so I probably don't know what I'm talking about, but there seems to be a consensus that animal agriculture contributes to the global greenhouse gases. But there is no doubt that whatever food that you eat or whatever diet you're on, it's going to have some sort of impact on the environment. And I felt that switching to a whole food, plant-based diet would have a more positive one than the diet that I was previously on. This is why I say that veganism is not just a diet, it's a lifestyle. It's a conscious decision that takes into account more than just the health benefits of a plant-based diet. And I don't want to deter anyone from choosing to eat a plant-based diet just for the health benefits. I actually made a whole video on that. But if everything I talked about made sense, I would encourage you to go vegan. Give it a shot. And I have a ton of vegan resources down below in the description. Check them out. I have everything from documentaries and books to vegan alternatives and supplements. But if you feel that going vegan is not right for you, don't worry, because I didn't either. Remember my vegetarian friend Blake from high school? Well, the funny thing is, when I went vegan, he actually started to eat meat again. And it's amazing where life can take you to places where you never thought that you would go. It's the whole reason why I made this YouTube channel back in 2013. And because of that, I've been able to connect with thousands of people, others who were just like me, who never thought who could do it, were thriving on this lifestyle. And I know that you can do it too. So thank you so much for listening to my vegan story. I want to hear yours down below. And if you're not vegan, post any questions that you have about this lifestyle down below, because all I want to do is I want to see you thrive. And if I can help point you in the right direction, I'm all for it. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a like, share with somebody who might find it useful, and subscribe for more videos just like this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.